Hi Science 7, welcome to topic 8 on fossils. We will be looking at 6 types of fossils. Fossils are remains or traces of organisms that were once alive, and the fossil evidence is found in rock. The type of rock they'll be found in is sedimentary rock, and they tell us a lot of things. They could tell us when they lived, where they lived, sometimes their lifestyle, sometimes their behavior. They can tell us how old the rock is, and even the type of environment or climate that existed when they lived. Fossils are actually pretty rare because the conditions have to be perfect to fossilize something. So likely there are many organisms in the past eras that are not fossilized, and that's why fossils are so important when they are found, because of all the valuable information we can get from them. So in order for a fossil to be formed, that plant or animal has to be buried right away after it has died. So then what happens is the material in its body is going to be replaced when it decomposes. Then the hard parts, like the bones or the shells or teeth, will be fossilized. So fossil type number 1 is direct preservation or original remains, which is very rare. It's the entire real organism that, for example, is preserved in ice, like the woolly mammoth that they have found. Something cool to look at videos on. And another one is, we talked about how mosquitoes may be trapped in amber, which is tree sap that has fossilized into a rock. So those would be some examples. Sometimes they also find the actual organisms in wax or tar. Fossil type number 2 is carbonization or carbonaceous. And this one is when a whole bunch of heat and pressure has compressed that organic matter, that living thing, so much that it's become basically a thin layer of carbon, like a stamp on a rock, on sedimentary rock. So that's pretty cool. Third type is petrification. Most people are familiar with petrified wood. So what happens is water gets in there, into that dead material, and the minerals in that water will crystallize, and then the minerals replace the shape and all the parts of that organism. And it actually is the most common way we find fossils, is petrified. Here's a whole petrified forest in Arizona. Fourth one is a mold. And so this is where a cavity is left after all the hard parts have dissolved. And a cast is kind of opposite. A cast is kind of like making a sand castle, where you have the shape of that organism left. So were filled with sedimentary material, and you see the shape of them. Okay, this one shows how the cast and molds can form. The animal dies and gets covered by sediment. The skeleton will dissolve, and you get that imprint or mold, and then that gets filled, and that will form the cast, and eventually erosion will expose that cast. Last type is trace fossils, and these are indirect remains, so it's not the actual organism, but it could be their eggs, their nests, their tracks or traces, their teeth. So those would be things that they left behind to tell that they did exist. And the last thing about fossils is that each period of time or area may have an index fossil that helps to give information about the age of that rock. And so, for example, ammonites, common in Mesozoic era, trilobites, common in the Paleozoic era, those would be called index fossils. And they're something that's we can recognize very easily, found in many places, and very common for that particular era, and were very easy fossilized. Okay, that is our talk on fossils. Take a peek at some of these awesome links, and I will see you again for our last video.